Okay, all right. So again, tonight we're going to look at the dropping the giant. We looked at knowing the enemy. We looked at preparing for the battle. And now tonight, actually slaying the giant, not taking down the giant that stands before us. And so we look here at from verses 38 through 49 in 1 Samuel 17. So it says, Then Saul clothed David with his armor. He put a helmet of bronze on his head and clothed him with a coat of mail. And David strapped his sword over his armor, and he tried in vain to go, for he had not tested them. Then David said to Saul, I cannot go with these, for I have not tested them. So David put them off. I think when we think of that image that's created there, I kind of get this kind of humorous appearance of this kid trying to wear the armor of a fully grown, actually a kind of a big guy. And so he's trying to wear this armor, and it just overwhelms him. And he says he hasn't tested it, which probably what he means is he hasn't fought with that armor on to be able to even see that he'd be able to function in that armor. And so he says, I can't do this. Verse 40, Then he took his staff in his hand and chose 5 smooth stones from the brook and put them in his shepherd's pouch. His sling was in his hand, and he approached the Philistine. And so if we look at this from David's perspective, it seems pretty obvious from the very beginning that his plan, his thought had to do with taking him down with the stones. It wasn't just like a last minute kind of thing. This is his plan. And why do you think it is? Why do you think the sling was his primary instrument of battle here as he goes against Goliath? It's what he's used to using. It's what he's tested in the past. This is probably what he used to fend off the lions and the bears and whatever the creatures were that attacked the sheep in the field. This is what he's good at, and this is what he has available to him. And so he took a staff in his hand, chose 5 smooth stones from the brook, and put them in his shepherd's pouch. His sling was in his hand, and he approached the Philistine. And the Philistine moved forward and came near to David with his shield bearer in front of him. And so the giant at this point, Goliath, doesn't seem to be intimidated by this young man approaching. He sends his shield bearer out in front of him. He is moving forward, which would be an offensive move. He's not in a defensive posture. He's ready to take this kid on right away. And when the Philistine looked and saw David, he disdained him, for he was but a youth, ruddy and handsome in appearance. And the Philistine said to David, Am I a dog that you come to me with sticks? And the Philistine cursed David by his gods. The Philistine said to David, Come to me, and I will give your flesh to the birds of the air and to the beasts of the field. Then David said to the Philistine, You come to me with a sword and with a spear and with a javelin, but I come to you in the name of the Lord of hosts, the God of the armies of Israel, whom you have defied. This day the Lord will deliver you into my hand, and I will strike you down and cut off your head. And I will give the dead bodies of the host of the Philistines this day to the birds of the air and to the wild beasts of the earth, that all the earth may know that there is a God in Israel. And so we see David's primary focus in this, and his end objective ultimately stated in this verse. And his end objective is what? Is it simply killing the giant? I couldn't hear. Everybody was kind of... Okay, but with the end objective, what? Make God known. God's glory. He wraps it all up with that God would be known, the glory of God. That's his motivation. That's the reason he wants to accomplish this. So we would hear the cursing of the Philistine, of the giant, and our blood would boil, and we would want to take him down simply because he said bad things about us. David seems to just kind of goes right off his back, and his concern is God. It's God's glory is his primary motivation. And that all the assembly may know that the Lord saves, not with sword and spear, for the battle is the Lord's, and he will give you into our hand. When the Philistine arose and came to draw near to meet David, David ran quickly toward the battle line to meet the Philistine. And David put his hand in his bag and took out a stone and slung it and struck the Philistine on his forehead. The stone sunk into his forehead and he fell on his face to the ground. And so we're going to stop there. He actually doesn't appear as we continue that he is dead yet. This seems like this was the blow that would stun him and put him down on the ground where David could take care of things officially and fully.